You ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
None
fellas?
of those fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, or none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Shetties?
No.
You
I
think-
don't even speak to the... I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
I was conscious of the fact that he had a reputation for being an outstanding bookmaker.
You ever hear him referred to as the Prime Minister of the Underworld?
That term I did not.
Also known as Duck Corella. I refuse to answer on the grounds of an offensive. Got any business? I refuse to answer on the grounds of attempted criminal. You have any profession? I refuse to answer on the grounds of making. Have any occupation? I refuse to answer on the grounds of making. Are you a known racketeer?
Welcome to the Grand Jury. I'm Joe Lanou, your host, as we review police use of force incidents through the lens of a grand jury. A grand jury is a jury of your peers that makes decisions on felony crimes as to bring formal charges or not. My role as the host is to present evidence, footage, context, and details to our panel of 5 volunteers from the social media platform X. These jurors, ordinary citizens, will decide if the use of force was appropriate or warrants criminal charges using the probable cause and reasonable person standard. But let's meet this week's jury. We have, who we have? We got Burton. Let's see. There we go. We've got Burton as our foreman. He goes as Hawk Wolf, or really Burton Cully on X, but Hawk Wolf 556 is his handle. Burton, what do folks need to know about you?
Well, I am a veteran. I'm an IT professional, been an IT professional for 40 years. And one of my primary focus on being on X is veteran advocacy. There's a lot of veterans out there who need help wading through transition and the VA issues, things like that. So I do what I can to help them out with that sort of thing.
Thanks, Burton. Our juror number 2, or number 1, we'll call him even, is Cody, Coco Blanco on X. Coco, tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Cody. I have over 15
I like Coco
years.
better now that I've realized that. You will be Coco from here on out.
Perfect. Yeah. I have 15 years in facility management, well-versed in fair housing and real estate law. I'm an advocate of free speech and part-time comedian.
Part-time comedian. That's interesting. Actually, you are kind of funny, Cody, but I'd like to maybe talk about you a bit more. I just realized that about you. We've got lovely Laura with us tonight. Laura, what's your story? What are your interests?
I am very interested in the rule of law, and I have my master's in science and criminology. And I just want to know the truth. I think mostly the reason I'm on X is to meet people and really to find out the truth or hear both sides, to be fair. That's me.
That's a solid place to be. I like that. We've got Doc as a juror tonight, Blues Doc Oregon on X. Doc, what should people know about you? What's Doc about?
Oh, probably had not to comment too much on that. Retired Navy corpsman, retired paramedic, guitar player, and all around mad influence.
Without a doubt. Thanks, Doc. We've got King Davey 789 on X. King Davey, give yourself an introduction. Tell the folks who you are.
Good evening, everyone. Retired military, 20 years. I've worked everything from NATO and Belgium to all over the world. Cyber security, network operations, all that stuff is in my background. And now I'm a teacher of Marines and Army officers. With that being said, my highlight for X is really to combat human trafficking on the local level. So I try to promote organizations that cater to the victims and highlight organizations that go after the transgressions.
Very good. Folks out there on X or these other platforms, everybody's on X, I'm sure. Most of our viewers are. Give these guys a follow. They're worth it. I follow them. We've run into each other on Spaces and through posts throughout this last year. So I recommend them all as a follow. But I tell you what, just like every grand jury, grand juries have expert witnesses, and so do we. We've got Jason with 3D Response, a 30-year veteran of law enforcement and creator of the 3D Response school safety system that we talk about quite a bit. Jason, give us an introduction of yourself and maybe a quick one on 3D Response.
Wing it here, real quick. Patrol officer, field training officer, school resource officer, active shooter instructor, narcotics officer, mental health officer, lieutenant, sergeant, have done street crimes supervisor. I've kind of done the gauntlet. Our internal affairs lieutenant. I've done the gauntlet in law enforcement, but my passion really lies with keeping our kids safe, and created a system based upon my experience as an active shooter instructor to both civilians and first responders on the response to a threat in a building. And we came up with a multi-layered system that we have proven and patented that can give the tools to the kids and the teachers and the cops the ability to take a target-rich environment and make a target less than 60 seconds and save kids' lives. And that's pretty much me.
And if somebody wants to get more information on your 3D response system, isn't it just simply www.3dresponse.com?
Yeah, just our website really kind of goes into detail. We keep a couple layers out just because it is a security system, but overall, that's a great place to go. There's also a bill going around right now called the SHIELD Act. It's in Minnesota, and there's 2 other states looking to adopt it to finally define school safety. And much like the fire code, we've defined fire safety, car safety. We need to define school safety. We haven't done it yet, and that's what the SHIELD Act is about, is defining how to keep our kids safe.
Yeah, folks, it's absolutely something that I'm familiar with and endorse, and I think most folks that have taken a quick look just at the website's very well laid out. It describes what this is. It's a comprehensive system. It's not one component. It pretty much covers it 360 or from A to Z, however you want to look at it, but it's worth 15 minutes of your time to poke around on his website. It's got great videos. It's not like you have to do a hard read. You watch the videos. It explains it very well. But we also have our producer tonight, B. Wayne, from our Night Court co-host Corral. He'll present media and keep us on time. Bruce Wayne is first night running producer, but he's doing a great job so far. But Bruce, I think it's time to get into some instructions. Let's talk about what we're here for. Give us the definition of a grand jury. Folks, a grand jury, this secretive assembly of citizens summoned to serve for a specific period of time, hears testimony and examines evidence and witnesses under the prosecutor's guidance to decide if there's enough probable cause to indict someone for a crime, all without a judge or defense attorney in the room. They evaluate whether the evidence suggests a crime was committed and if the accused is likely responsible. No unanimous vote is needed for our show in real grand juries as well. It's just a majority. 3 out of 5 wins the day. But they have a core mission. A grand jury's core mission, their whole purpose is to decide if there's probable cause to indict someone. But what does that mean? I mean, in legal terms, probable cause is the standard of evidence that means more than a hunch, but less than beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a reasonable belief based on facts and circumstances that a crime was committed and the person accused is likely responsible. Think of it as a good enough to keep playing threshold. But let's talk about another definition that you need to look through the lens on to see, and that's a reasonable person. And this reasonable person it's a fictional character. It embodies society's average judgment, prudence, and knowledge. Not a genius, but not a klutz, just your everyday Joe or Jane acting thoughtfully. In grand jury cases, the reasonable person standard, it guides whether the evidence supports a logical belief that a crime occurred Beyond that, it's used in negligence cases like would a reasonable person text while driving, or criminal, like we'll see tonight, in self-defense claims. Context matters. The standard adjusts to the situation. What's reasonable for a doctor differs from what's reasonable for a driver. For grand juries, it's about whether the evidence reasonably points to a crime, not absolute certainty. It's like the law's version of a reality check, ensuring the decisions aren't based on whims or emotions, but on what a sensible person would think. Okay, with that, we are, I tell you what, let's go over the format tonight. With there are 3 phases to each case. We'll have 4 cases tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And there are 3 phases to each case. The presentation phase. This is where we'll look at the evidence, including video footage of the incident. We'll have the examination phase. This is the phase where the jurors can question the expert witness, Jason, on police procedures and review previously presented evidence. We can go back and watch the video back and forth. In all 4 cases we have tonight, the largest piece of evidence that we have, in some cases, the only piece of evidence we have to present to the juror tonight is going to be the evidence in 911 calls. But you'll be able to go back during the examination phase and examine the evidence. Once we're done with that phase, we're ready to deliberate. We'll turn it over to Burton. He's the foreman, and we'll go through the deliberation phase. The jury has 10 minutes to discuss, debate, and vote on whether to issue a true bill or no bill finding on the cause. At the end of the clock, if they have no vote, then a tie goes to the defendant, the accused. But 3 out of 10 determines whether it be a true bill, which is an indictment, or a no bill means no charges brought. And that's where we're going to go with that. We've got a couple of rules that jurors, this is what we're asking you to look at each case and all the evidence that you're going to examine tonight. We're asking you to do these things. You may only consider the evidence presented here. No Google searches or things that you may have known or things you've seen in other situations. Only examine the evidence that's there, that it's presented for you here tonight. You must use the reasonable person standard. We spoke about what that was. There must be a probable cause level of proof. More likely than not, a crime has occurred, and the actor responsible is responsible for said crime. We're going to use Texas laws as the legal lens to look through these incidences, regardless of where it may have occurred, really for no other reason other than just to keep it simple. Okay, folks, do we have any questions before we begin with our first case? I'm going to take that silence as a no. The explanations were sound, and we're ready to go. That's what I'm going to assume that to be. So let's go to our first case.
It sounds like we don't have any questions, Joe.
Austin, do you need police, fire, EMS, or mental health services?
I need police. I just had a guy pointing a gun at me, William Cannon, at Cannon League.
William Cannon and what then?
Cannon League. He's in a wheelchair. He's in the middle of the road, and I asked if he needed help because all the cars were stopping, and he pointed a gun at me.
Okay, hold on. I think we have another call here. Hold on. And you said he was in a wheelchair, right?
Yes. But like I said, he has a gun in his lap.
And he pointed it at you?
Yes.
Austin 911, do you need police, fire, EMS, or mental health services?
Police.
To what address?
Hello?
To what address?
Well, it's on William Cannon Drive, between, Woodview and west of Woodview.
Okay, what's going on there?
There's a guy on the road with a wheelchair, disabled guy, not only blocking the traffic, but he's got a gun in his hand. And when we were in front of him, he pointed, and wanted to pass him, he pointed to his gun. So he's pretty much threatening people.
Did he point to his gun, or did he point it at you?
Well, he pointed with one finger to his gun, which was in the other hand. But the gun was not pointed in our direction at this point. But at that point, we're like, okay, and we passed him in a nice way.
Okay. Give me one moment while I update this call.
Hat auch gut gezeigt mit der Waffe, das stimmt.
Hä?
Ja.
Der ist so gemacht.
Ja, und die Waffe zeigte auf das Auto. Da kommt doch jetzt einer.
Ja.
Do you know what kind of gun it was?
Hello?
Was it a handgun, pistol,
Yes,
shotgun?
it looks like a handgun, looks like a Glock to me.
Do you know what he was wearing?
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, there's one guy in the middle of the road he's got one leg missing, I believe. Yeah, I mean, a poor guy, right? But yeah, I mean, pointing a gun at, I mean, halfway to us, like I said, right? It was kind of in between pointing it to us and not.
And you said he was in a wheelchair, right?
Yeah, in a wheelchair. And he blocked multiple cars, and then some passed by him, and we were kind of in front of him and indicated that we want to pass by him, and then he'd point to his gun, and again, the gun like halfway to us and halfway to the car, and a little bit of both.
So was he located closer to South Congress or the Sunstrip Drive?
Well, we were just going east, and the next intersection we saw was Woodhue. So I think it's the bridge before Woodhue.
Okay.
Just before the bridge is where he was, 5 minutes ago.
Your incident has been updated. Your incident has been updated. Your incident has been updated.
Get. 2210, direction of fire is going to be westbound. He's in the middle lane. Stop, sir! Stop! Stop where you're going! Stop! Frank 210, he is going eastbound on the north curb line. Direction of fire, still going to be westbound. I got a lot of traffic. There is what appears to be a black pistol in the middle of his lap. He tried covering up when he saw me. I need a unit to get westbound and block traffic. Stop! Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Put your hands up! What's your hands? Drop the gun! What's the gun? Drop the gun! Let me see your hands! Drop the gun! Hands out! Put your hands out! Frank 210's shots taken, suspects down. Going to need the road blocked off westbound. Put your hands up! Coming to you. Coming to you. Put your hands up!
Good?
Yes, sir. He still has the gun under him.
Incident has been updated.
Need a unit to get westbound and block traffic.
We need a unit to block westbound traffic at Woodhue. Our direction of fire is eastbound. He's moving eastbound.
Sure.
Your incident has been updated. New message.
O&A.
I'll choose assistance. I'll choose assistance.
Put your hands up!
New lighting incident. Your incident has been updated.
Frank 210, shots taken, suspect down. We're going to need the road blocked off westbound. 204.
Okay, folks, that's going to be the examination phase, but I'm going to pass it to Jason for Jason to make comments on it. But Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you explain what the use of force continuum is, and what it is, and how, and maybe quick example how officers may use it, if it's not putting you on the spot too much?
No, it's fine. It's basically officers are allowed to go one step higher than the threat presented.
Letting everybody digest that for a minute.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear us, Burton? Can you hear Jason? Go ahead, Jason. I think you had an open line.
Use force continuum is, for an example, if you walk into a house and a guy is clenching his fists, the use of force continuum is basically you can go one step higher than a fist fight. So you can go to less lethal, and then if a taser or whatnot. So you're allowed to go one step higher than the threat that presents itself.
Okay. Aren't there also levels like the first level of force is actually you being there in your command presence in uniform? That's the first level of force that officers apply?
Yeah, so it's officer presence, it's verbal commands, it's less lethal, lethal, and then that's kind of it. So if somebody's giving you show up and they see your presence and they don't comply with you, and then you give verbal commands, you can go one step up. And then all of a sudden, if a weapon is introduced, you can go one step up from that. But eventually, if it's weapon on weapon, the continuum kind of ends there. And that's kind of the legits of it, that cops can go one step higher.
Let's take the scenario that, because it is a continuum, it's not a ladder, it's not a chain, that
Okay,
if
folks
you
on
arrive
the jury panel, what are your thoughts on the videos we just saw?
Burton, can you hear us? I lost my train of thought. Oh, that if you show up on the scene and that there's a gun in play or a deadly force situation, it's not like that you have to work yourself through the continuum to get to deadly force. Am I right about that? You can go straight to deadly force if the condition exists.
Yeah, you can go from step
Joe
1 to
may be
step
having
5.
some technical difficulties. I want to.
Burton, can you hear me?
I want to get everybody.
You can go from step 1 to step 5 in an instant.
Absolutely. What do you think about this video that we just saw?
Not to give from a police perspective, this is an action reaction call. It's also a use of force continuum, and I think you need to look into the justification of, can my reaction to his action. Also, you got to keep in mind here the priorities of life for law enforcement, which is number 1, the innocent, number 2, the bystanders, number 3, the cop, and number 4, the suspect. So you have a combination of action, reaction, use of force continuum, and the priorities of life.
And this one, you had a lot going on this one. Wouldn't you agree? The it's a public roadway. It's no real cover for officer or the traffic that's driving by. You've got a lot of factors to consider, I think, as a police officer approaching this one.
100%. I was impressed, to be honest with you. This is a complicated situation that came down to make a decision or don't, and they made the decision. And we'll see if the jury finds that they made the right one or not.
Very good. I like the way you skirted that. I'm impressed. Okay, let's start out before we go to the examination phase. Let's see if my foreman's back up. Burton, can you hear us? 1 2 1 2. Bruce Wayne, just back channel talk to him to see how we can figure that out. And but aside from that, I think we've got 4 of the jury members there that can probably form their own questions themselves. Okay, jury members, I'll act as your foreman. Does anybody have any portion of the evidence that they want to go back and review? Let's start with evidence review first. Does anybody have a portion of the video they'd like to go back and see or hear?
I would like to see the moment when he tells him to stop the last time before he fires, because it was so out of focus. I'd like to see if there's a clear moment where I can see his reaction before he said, hey, put your weapon down. He had to fire first. Now, I know that the readout gave us that information, but I'd like to see that a little more clearly if we can.
Okay, so you from the body-worn camera view, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to walk it a little further here.
Okay, Joe, can you hear me now?
We've got you loud and clear this time, my friend. Can
Sorry
you hear
about
us?
that.
Can you hear
Yes.
us? Okay.
Yes, I can. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. It's technical issues. We have them. I tell you what, let me finish up. We're at King Dave. He's got a question on the portion of the video he wants to find and watch. I'm
Yes.
trying to get there now. Thanks.
Put your hands up! Put your hands up! Put your hands! Drop the gun! What's the gun? Drop the gun! Let me see your hands! Drop the gun! Hands up! Put your hands up!
Did that satisfy what you wanted to see there, King Davey?
It does. It doesn't provide what I wanted, was to be able to see his hands, be able to see him react to the officer's commands, but it's just so far out of focus. In the second video from the officer that pulls in front to the right there, you can't really see anything either. So I was hoping there was a better shot.
Well, they don't do these things on movie sets, my friend. You kind of got to get what you got to get, like every other grand jury out there. This is the evidence before you. I don't mean to underrate it or try to belittle you on that, but you're going to have to make a decision on what we've got here.
That's fair.
I can't tell. Did the gentleman fire?
That person in the wheelchair? No, the person in the wheelchair could not have fired. If you'll notice in the police report, it said a Glock look-alike or something like that. It didn't mean it was a knockoff Glock. It was a BB gun. It was a black BB gun that looked like a pistol, a Glock pistol.
Oh, I couldn't read the last part because it went too fast. Got it. Thank you.
No other parts of the video that we want to see? Any questions for Jason?
Yes, sir. My question to Jason would be, is there is that standard procedure to, if somebody's brandishing a weapon, to approach the suspect basically face to face? Or is there any other alternatives? Could the officers have blocked that roadway a little bit better, given the fact that he's in a wheelchair, and maybe approach that in a different way? Or is that standard police procedure?
In this case, based on the calls that came in, you have a guy that's already pointed a weapon at somebody else. So he's already presented imminent threat to others. So there's a public safety concern if you let him go. So again, it goes back to the officers are going there to protect the priorities of life. And in their mind, the first one is the innocent people around him and the bystanders and the victims. And then actually that's the first and the second. The third one is the officer's own life. And the fourth one is the life of the suspect. So the fact that officers approached him in the manner that he did, they're protecting. This is a public safety issue. He's pointing a gun at people and putting them in fear for their life. Now, if you tie in action versus reaction, there's a lot of case law out there that says if somebody is holding a gun in their hand, they can shoot you before you can shoot them back. So you have to take into account that by the time that guy, if he points the gun, it's too late. So you have action, reaction, you have priorities of life, and you have public safety all wrapped into one scenario. Does that answer you?
Yeah, it does. That was the basis of my question. I guess would be, is it standard police procedure to approach the suspect on foot rather than, try to, a different way of approaching him?
There's no standard way to approach somebody. Every scenario is different, and you just deal with the environment that you have. And in this case, I think, what other option do they have? It's again, they're protecting public safety at this point.
Jason, can I kind of dovetail and maybe narrow this down a bit?
If you're going to give your opinion, Burton, you'll have to hold that for deliberation. If you have a question, you may go ahead.
It was actually a question. Would containment be a primary focus at this point because of the traffic?
I think they did that. They shut down westbound traffic, and they isolated him with law enforcement. I think the cops did that.
Okay, thank you.
I have two questions for you, Jason. First of all, how long would it take? It looks like he's on a bridge. How long would it take to secure that area and reroute the traffic off of it? And secondly, how long would it take for a subject to empty a gun into the passing traffic while that's happening?
If they have a squad in the area, they can shut westbound traffic down pretty much instantaneously, and they called out for that. And him to drop his mag, 3 seconds. Very quick.
I believe there are 3 units on scene when you get there. So you've got the one person on foot who's confronting the gunman or the assailant, if you want to call it on this, the defendant. You've got this vehicle that's pulling up to support the officer on foot. And you've got one that's further down that you can't see. You can barely see it in this video where he's stopping the lane traffic that the officer's in. But you don't have enough squads to stop the far lane traffic. I think that time when we think about it, wouldn't be nice to shut that bridge down because we got him isolated. I think I understand where you guys are going, but I don't know that that's reasonable. And you got to look at the time. And if this guy has a real gun, he's been pointing it at people, then this car that's driving there right now that you see in there, that's an innocent person. There's a white car. That's an innocent person. Each one of these people are exposed that that could be a factor, I think, in the officer's mind. I think it's reasonable that that could be a factor in the officer's mind. Is that what you're saying as well, Jason? Or are we talking separate?
No, saying the same thing. The priorities of life. Innocence, number 1. Bystanders, 2. Cops, 3. Suspect, 4.
All right, folks, is there anything else that we want to take a look at? Are we ready for deliberations?
my last question is a procedural question for the suspect versus the cops in the scenario. Is it reasonable to think that the cops would have pulled the vehicles to cut him off where they would be within 30 feet of him instead of 150 or 250 feet back?
In that scenario, no, I don't think so.
Thank you.
All right, Foreman, are we ready?
I believe we are. I'm going to start by, while we've been asking questions, what are your initial thoughts right now before we get into details?
Hold up, brother. Hold up.
Hold on.
I'm
That's
asking
right.
you, are
That's
you
right.
done with, is everybody done with their questions?
Do-
If
are
everyone's
there-
done with the questions, I'll move us into the deliberation phase. We've got a clock for it and all.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen everything.
Does
I need
anybody
to.
have any other questions for Jason or any part of the evidence they want to see or question even for me?
No, sir. I believe that's all.
Okay, so there's no further questions, nothing else on the video, procedures, or the law that anyone wants to see or hear about.
I'm clear on the information.
I'm clear as well.
All right. Well, let's go into some deliberation instructions. We'll put our little clock up there in just a second. Let me get that reset. Okay. These are your instructions. Justifiable homicide rules. An officer's use of deadly force is justified if a reasonable person would believe that it was necessary to protect themselves or others from imminent death or serious bodily harm, stop a fleeing suspect who poses a clear imminent danger to others. The officer's perspective is important. Consider the facts known to the officers at the time, split-second decisions, threat levels, and circumstances. These things matter. Review the evidence, look at witness statements, which you get from Jason, body cam footage, and the other footage that we have for this particular case. Does that evidence support a reasonable belief that the officer acted lawfully? Vote if a majority finds no probable cause for a crime due to justification, issue a no bill to close the case. Otherwise, a true bill indicts the case. Does everybody understand their charge? Remember the reasonable person standard. All that's in play when you take a look. We're asking you when you watch review this evidence and make a decision. Any questions before we start the clock?
No, sir.
All right, Burton, now it's up to you, my friend. It's all yours for deliberations.
Okay. First thing I want to ask is, in general, I know it's kind of disturbing to watch this, but what are your thoughts on what we just witnessed, what we were just presented as evidence? I'll start with Doc. Doc?
Yeah, that looked pretty clear cut to me. There was he'd presented a clear threat to bystanders already, at least 2 911 calls where he had brandished a firearm. The failure to comply with instructions, at that point you don't know what he's going to do next. And as Jason pointed out, take about three seconds to dump a mag if that were an actual firearm. So yeah, I'm pretty. This is pretty clear cut for me.
Okay, and I'm not asking for a vote at this point. I'm looking for impressions here. King Davy, I'm just going down the list. Sorry, actually, no, I'm going to mix that up. I'm going to skip to Laura, not do ladies last. And then I'll go back to King Davy and Cody. So, Laura, what's your impression on what we just watched?
Well, there was an obvious threat, in my opinion. Multiple calls. The guy was mobile on his wheelchair, so it means he was accessible to get anywhere. What people knew was there was a weapon, and it was a very busy, area. So they did their best. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you, King Davy.
Yeah, based on what the officers knew at the time, based on the 911 calls, he was already looking for a conflict, providing conflict ahead of time before they arrived on scene. There's absolutely maybe different ways we could look at it and see it, but what those officers knew in that moment was that a person had a firearm and was already threatening and providing conflict. So could we have done it differently? Could there have been a bullhorn, maybe some way to clearly communicate? Perhaps, but my initial impression is that the officers were responding to an escalation of force already.
Okay, thank you. Cody, what are your impressions of what we just saw?
I do believe that there was an imminent danger to the officer himself and the public. I also am going to take the stance of I do think, given the the 911 calls and the information that they were given, that they had more time to make a better decision on how to handle this situation, given the facts that they were given within the 911 calls.
Okay, so everyone is, I just want to make sure we're all kind of getting the same impression that there was a threat, they had information, and they dealt with what they had. Does that sum it up?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, y'all, go ahead, Laura.
I agree. The only thing that comes to mind is, could there have been something else deployed? But considering the surroundings and the danger of the surroundings, I guess, it's at the moment. So that's that, in my opinion.
Okay. Do all four of you feel inclined at this point to vote true bill or no bill?
Yeah, I'm going to go no bill.
Laura?
No bill.
King Davy?
No bill for me. I do have one particular issue, is that I cannot see what's reported by the police, but I would put my faith that they report 100% in good faith correct.
That is duly noted. Cody?
Cody, you with us?
Oh,
4
sorry,
minutes
I
are-
muted.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to go no bill as well, given the information that we had.
Okay, I'm going to go a no bill also, but I'm going to highlight, as King Davy said, unfortunately, we can't see, due to the cameras, camera angles, and the fact that these are the types of cameras that law enforcement uses, we can't see that clearly. But I'm also going to go with a no bill. So, Joe, I believe this jury is going to say no bill on this case.
Very well. That's a no bill. No formal charges. Our panel would agree should be filed against these officers. This is a relatively new one. We'll kind of watch it and see what happens in the Austin justice system on this case. But I would agree. I think I agree with the jury on this, that, yeah, I mean, it's kind of wheelchair. It's kind of a messed up situation. But I don't know that the resources were there in the amount of time that they would. Here's the choice I think the officer had to make. I need to wait on resources so I can save this, make sure I don't hurt this guy who's waving a gun at people. But when I do that, I'm exposing people that I can't get out of the way because I don't have the resources to necessarily shut them down as quickly, if that makes any sense. So I think that it was a lawful but awful shoot. Jason?
No, I agree. I think if you got 3 squads there and you're dealing with that, I don't think they had a choice. I would no bill this all day of the week.
And you know what, Jason, something I didn't want to bring it up prior to the jury deliberation, something about listening that sound that the responding officer in the vehicle as he's pulling up, when he realizes that his partner's out there on the curb with an AR leveled down on this guy and he's starting to see what's going on. I think there was a nervous tick that come out there, but I'm going to pull that up later and we're going to listen to it in the after party if anybody else wants to come in and hear my theory on that. But I think that's a great indicator of stress.
The other indicator of stress I got was when the dispatcher said, "What's he wearing?" How many guys in a wheelchair are on this bridge?
Well,
there may be something I know about Austin PD that could explain that, and it wouldn't be as, read a script.
If I can just briefly, when they mentioned the road and the cross streets, I was like, wait a minute, I know that place. I know that area. Shit, this is coming out of Austin. Damn.
Yeah. No, that is absolutely. That was Austin PD, the 17th of this month. Very recent. Okay, folks, we've got a docket to keep up with. Let's go to Baltimore.
You better put it down, bro. You gonna get. I'm gonna shoot you, bro. I'm gonna shoot you, bro. You better put it down, bro. You better put it down, bro. I'm gonna shoot you. Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. All right, ceasefire, 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 ceasefire. I got him. I got him. Shots fired, shots fired. Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired.
Okay, this happened in Baltimore. It was an action team, it was like a task force patrolling. They spot this guy, Mr. Howell, on a moped. They recognized him to be wanted on an attempted murder warrant when officers approached him. This incident ensued. So let's go to Jason real fast. Give me your rundown on your general opinion on this, I should say, not necessarily what you would do in it affect a jury.
Wanted on a homicide warrant, gun exposed. I'll just leave it there.
It does seem to be pretty clear cut, doesn't it?
To me, yeah, but I won't go into it.
Okay. Well, let's turn it over to our jury for examination. Folks, any other parts of the video you want to see or hear? Any questions for Jason? Now's the time to do it.
Can you run through the video one more time?
The entirety with sound?
Just one of them from, I guess, towards the end.
So we had some camera views. Let's use that vehicle on the curb as our marker. We had some on one side of it, as we're looking at the video now, the right side of it, and we had some on the left side of it. Which view did you prefer? Or would you like to see again? And you can see both.
Any one of them.
Shots fired, shots fired. Shots fired, shots fired, shots fired.
So that camera view, can you go to the moment right before the officer shot?
And the camera view that we're working with right now?
Yes, sir. So that frame right before the officer shot, basically right before the suspect shot as well.
that help you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, he comes around that van. He's leveled up. I can't really tell exactly when he starts to shoot first, but he comes around that van ready to do it.
Well, my main question in that video was, I seen that the weapon was in his right hand in the video, where it had it circled. So I wanted to see what hand was raised up. Was during that the weapon was in his right.
Somebody dropped out at right. Any more questions for Jason or the video? We're ready to go to deliberations?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go to deliberations, at least on my end.
Yeah,
Burton,
I've
are you
seen
with
what
us?
I need to.
I think Burton still may be having some audio issues.
Well, I can hear again now. Are there any other questions? Anybody need to
No.
see anything else?
No, nobody has any questions. We've covered that. We're ready to go to deliberations unless you have a question, my friend.
I do not, other than just wondering if cops in Baltimore ride around in shorts. But it doesn't have any, it's not germane to what we're talking about here. That was just a side thing.
Yeah, you might see that in task force and street crimes units. You're trying to blend in. You're going to wear what everyone else is wearing, kind of thing.
Understood.
And you look cool doing it when you put your raid vest on. So you have that. Okay, the instructions are the same. Justifiable homicide rules. An officer's use of deadly force is justified if a reasonable person would believe it was necessary to protect themselves from others from imminent death or serious bodily harm. Stop a fleeing suspect who poses a clear imminent danger to others. The officer's perspective is important. Consider the facts known to the officer at the time, split-second decisions, threat level, and circumstances. Review the evidence, which is videotape in this case. Somebody has got an open mic. I need you to close it. Is that you, Burton? Anyway. Review the evidence. Look at witness statements. In this case, it's body cam footage. Jason didn't really offer a whole lot to it other than some opinion on it. If the majority finds no probable cause for a crime due to justification, issue a no bill and close the case. Otherwise, do a true bill and indict. Does everyone understand this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Crystal clear.
Let's start the clock. It's all yours, Burton. Now you can keep the mic up. Any other time, I need you to close it.
Understood. I apologize. So, like before, initial impressions on what you just saw. And I'm going to start with Laura this time.
Danger, 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 fleeing, threat. That's what I saw.
Okay, that's valid. So how about you, King Davey?
The video seems really clear, but there's just some things I actually saw outside of the shooting itself that I absolutely did not like seeing, with the officers flagging each other in that moment. Absolutely not. But that's not pertinent to them in this case when they had to take down this suspect.
Okay, so you think that would be more of an after-action discussion, not really part of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, those guys are gonna, in my opinion, they'll get their ass reamed, or excuse me, they'll get their fourth point of contact handed to them later about that.
Okay, but the actual activities that they undertook, you're clear on.
Very clear. You can't brandish a weapon like that with a person and what you know about them being already that they're wanted for attempted murder. So you know they have the ability, or at least the premise, to look like they can take a life. In their actions show that they were firing at an officer. Officers have no choice.
Okay. How about you, Cody? What were your impressions on the video, the incident that we just observed? What were your thoughts?
I think this was a pretty clear-cut situation, even without knowing the, previous warrants or anything else, other than the video that we just saw. I would say that, this was a pretty clear-cut situation in the officer's favor.
Okay, understood. And I get the message, Joe. Doc, what are your impressions on what we just witnessed?
Well, I'm gonna align with King Davey on this one. I saw some flagging there, and some people need some retraining, but it was a pressure situation. The previous warrant establishes the cops' right to respond. They had every reason to be there. They had every reason to engage the suspect, and it looked to me like he actually presented the weapon at that patrol unit that pulled up on the curb, and to me that's a clean no bill.
Okay, Doc, we're not voting yet. My impression also, I saw several instances of flagging. I'm really curious about trigger control. That's not germane to the discussion we're having. It was fairly apparent that they were where they were supposed to be. They had every reason to be there. They had every reason to stop and talk to the individual. And then things went south from there. So if anybody has any disagreement with what I just said, then please say so. If not, then I think we can start polling. Let's get a basic initial straw poll. What are people's thoughts on bill or no bill? And I just muted so that you could say something.
I guess I'll go first. I would say no bill initially. I wouldn't mind seeing if there was any other video angles that we haven't seen. If there was anything else information-wise.
Okay, I'm going to jump in because I'm seeing a pattern here. I give you everything that I've got, and I'll go back to the jurors' instructions. The rules of this little experiment is you're only to evaluate the evidence presented here. I can't give you views that aren't available. I give you everything that's available to me.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
I
I'll be
was
quite
about to
frank
say
with you,
that.
folks. This is the way sometimes investigations go. Crimes aren't recorded in movie theaters where they can get angles and cuts and edits for you.
Yeah, I was about to say that, Joe. What we've got, what we saw is what we've got. So I understand. I would like to see more also, but this is what we've got. This is what the officers were dealing with at the time. Would we, as reasonable people in that situation, do what they did? That becomes the real question. So, King Davey, Laura?
I'm a no bill. And again, there was danger. And the reason I asked for the replay, just to throw this in the hat, was because all I was concerned about when I saw it was the crossfire. But that's it. No bill.
Okay, King Davey?
I would go with no bill as well.
Okay, Cody, you want to restate or add?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty clear cut. I mean, no bill, in my opinion. He raised his firearm. Showed that that the officers and the citizens were in imminent danger. So yeah, no bill, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Doc?
Yeah, absolute no bill.
Understood. I'm also a no bill. So Joe, you've got a five panel no bill on this one.
Sounds like a decision. We'll do a quick after action review. You guys talked a lot about the flagging, and I'll let Jason give his opinion on it. But my opinion on it, that when you're in this type of situation, the officers, you're going to flag. I think trigger discipline was good. They fired shots when they were clear to fire shots. They didn't fire shots that they didn't have that were clear. And I'll use the evidence that nobody was shot but the bad guy. So I get that, and I hear what you guys are talking about, retraining and things of this nature, but I think those officers actually did a pretty fine job in a very dynamic and fluid situation, which is my opinion. Just to take it for what it's worth. And Jason, what do you think on that deliberation discussion?
I agree with Joe. I was not concerned about flagging whatsoever. you have a fleeing felon who is wanted for murder. And I thought the discussion would be more he shot him in the back. And the other topic that came up was once he pointed the gun. I mean, he's a fleeing felon with a gun in his hand who's a suspect for murder. And I'll tie this back into if you walk into a building where you have like an active shooter and you see somebody with a gun that runs from you, you can shoot them in the back. And I thought that would be more of the discussion. They shot him in the back. But I agree with Joe. I'm not concerned on the flagging part of this in any way, shape, or form. All cops are okay. I think the cops made good judgment and good fires when they needed to make those fires. And it's not about flagging or the point of the gun. It's about pulling the trigger and knowing your background. So that's my 2 cents. I think it was a very good shoot.
If I may, I want to ask one final question before we move on. Is that, Jason, can you clarify for me what is flagging?
It's crossfires between cops when the cop around the side of the thing and you have a innocent that's in between you and the suspect or an innocent that's beyond the suspect. It's where your muzzle is pointed. But in those scenarios, your adrenaline is so high that it's going to happen. And it's just inevitable. And the shooting I was in, there was a huge crossfire, but we didn't pull the trigger. We dropped our guns and said, nope, not now. And reposition until it's a clean shot.
Yeah, and Cody, the flagging they're talking about is essentially one officer pointed their muzzle at another officer. And around the van, when the officer's coming out of the van and on the ground, and by the way, he's coming out of the van. I believe the suspect shot in the van. I think the van was actually shot. If you watch, and we could pull it back up, we have just a few seconds, we could do it. And if you want to see it, there's a slow motion portion there that he takes the weapon and he points it at the officer in the van when the van pulls up. So I think the officer in the van was reacting to either the gun being pointed at him or a shot being fired at his van as he's coming out, and the officers surrounding it. Cody, there was what you could call a flagging situation, but it, like I said, very a dynamic and fluid situation going on. I thought the officers did well. The most safety you've got, you don't pull the trigger till you have a target that you intend to shoot.
Okay.
Can I just add something, Jason? You have a good point there about the being shot in the back. Initially when I was watching it, I said, "Isn't that his back?" But then after watching all the evidence, I realized there was no choice. So it's not that we didn't speak of it. Some of us already came to that conclusion. I'm thinking. That's all.
Well, and to that point, if I can add, one of the things that was pointed out is to prevent them from going out and harming someone else. If they don't shoot him then, even if it's in the back, he could get around the corner and shoot somebody else. We got to, officers have to stop that.
Adrian on X says someone give them the 4 safety rules. I would say that those safety rules in OSHA don't apply in a gunfight. Survival, I think, is the rule you're looking for. Just my opinion. But all right, folks, that is our second case. Let's get to our third one. Let's go to San Bernardino, California.
Deputies from the Sheriff's Fontana Station responded to the 2600 block of North Mountain Avenue on a 911 follow-up call that was transferred from the Upland Police Department. The reporting party, who identified himself as Caesar Martha, told the dispatcher that people had been following him for several hours and he was armed with a 9mm handgun. Martha told the dispatcher he was driving a black 2012 Honda Civic and he was in the mountain area north of Mountain Avenue in Upland. Martha told the dispatcher that he was by himself, he did not have a shirt on, and he was wearing blue jeans. The following is the 911 dispatch audio of the initial call by Martha.
Hello, Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. So what's going on?
I'm up here in the mountains
Mhm.
because I was being chased by people, and I kept on being chased. Went home, and I got frustrated, got my gun, and I came up here, and they're all around me. The sheriff is down there. I mean, but I don't know why they're chasing me.
It's the sheriffs that are chasing you?
No, it was the sheriff down there somewhere.
Do you know who's chasing you?
No, I don't. I don't know why. That's why I want to know why. And I've been asking him, and nobody says nothing.
How many people are there?
I don't know. And I already taken some shots, trying to push him away, but.
Do you know your nearest cross streets or an address that you're at or anything like that?
No, sir. I got off the freeway, and anyways, I came uphill. I don't know what street I took or anything.
What's your name?
Caesar Marta, M-A-R-T-H-A.
You said your first name was Caesar?
Yes, sir.
Kind of in the mountains area now. Did you like run up there, or did you drive up there?
I drove up to where the where you start up the trail, and then I walked up, and I get behind the bush.
How long have they been chasing you?
It's been a while. I don't know. It's been a while.
So it's been like a few hours that they've been chasing you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh no, they've been chasing me since the morning. They were chasing me since like 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been homeless, I have a lot of time. I've been spending a lot of time just in the streets because it's been raining, and I haven't had work.
You said you're armed though?
Excuse me?
Did you say that you were armed?
Yeah, yes I am.
Okay, what are you armed with?
Canic 9. I think it's a 9.
9mm handgun?
Yeah, it's a handgun 9.
And just the one?
Yeah.
Okay. Stay on the line with me, okay? We're gonna get some units over there to help you out, all right?
Just the sheriff, so he could talk to me,
Of course, yeah. We got some deputies driving.
Why?
Away, all right?
I want to know why.
What kind of car are you?
I don't know. It's a like a Honda Civic.
Do you see the guys that were following you?
No, I don't see them.
Were they following you in a car, or were they on foot?
No, on a car.
They were in a car too?
Several cars, yeah. I haven't. I recorded some of the license plates. I have them on my phone. My phone is here, but it's dead.
So you parked your car on the street and then you walked up the trail?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hit, and they're just here.
Is there anybody there with you, or were you by yourself?
I'm by myself.
Okay. What color shirt or jacket are you wearing?
I'm not wearing a shirt right now.
Okay, so you don't have a shirt on? What color pants are you wearing?
Light blue jeans.
Okay, so you're wearing no shirt and blue jeans?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, we do have some deputies looking for you. Do you have a handgun with you?
Yes.
Okay. Where is it? Is it in your hand or is it in your pocket?
It's in my hand. No, a helicopter is coming.
Yeah, we do have our helicopter that's going to be in the area. They're going to be looking for you. Since you're up in the hills, they want to be able to find you quicker.
Well, yeah, because I have a handgun. Yeah.
Right. They're going to want you to put down the handgun before they talk to you, okay? Just to make sure everybody stays safe.
No.
You don't want to put down the handgun?
No, I don't. First of all, I don't know why they're chasing me.
Well, the deputies aren't chasing you. They're going to want to go up there to help you out, but you can't have a handgun if they want to help you out.
No, I'm not going to do it. Because the cops, I really don't trust you guys.
I mean, they got to get there and figure out the situation, and if you have a handgun, they're going to...
Well, yeah, put them on the phone.
Well, it wasn't the sheriff's chasing you, though, right?
No, it wasn't the sheriff. I don't know who it was.
Caesar, you said your last name was spelled M-E-R-T-H-A?
M-A-R-T-H-A.
And what's your date of birth?
10/12/1973.
Thank you. So we're going to have some deputies on the scene, okay?
Okay.
Do you still have the handgun with you in your hand?
Yeah. I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to. These people are the other. I was defending myself.
Yeah, they'll be able to help you out, but again, it's going to be hard for them to help you out if you have a handgun.
Oh yeah, I know. I understand that.
They're going to want to talk to you first without the handgun, make sure everybody
Yeah,
stays
but
safe.
no, I don't trust police officers. They've done me wrong. Like not that long ago, they put me in jail. Me and my sister and my brother-in-law. I hear a helicopter.
You do hear the helicopter?
Yeah, it's like right above me.
Caesar, what's going on?
You're not trying to help.
Yes, we are. We have multiple deputies that are going to be there. They're trying to help you out. Like I said, if you have a gun, it's going to be hard for them to just walk up there.
No.
So you don't want to put down the gun?
No. I'm not. I don't want to talk to you. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm asking you. I want to know why, and give me a lot of run-ons.
Well, I don't know. That's why the deputies are there. They're able to see you and talk to you. I don't know that information.
Put them on the phone. Put the person in charge on the phone.
I mean, the deputies aren't here. They're on scene with you. Hello, Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. So what's going on?
I'm up here in the mountains because I was being chased by people, and I kept on being chased. Went home and I got frustrated, got my gun, and I came up here, and they're all around me. The sheriff is down there. But I don't know why they're chasing me.
It's the sheriffs that are chasing you?
No, it was the sheriff down there somewhere.
Do you know who's chasing you?
No, I don't. I don't know why. That's why I want to know why. And I've been asking him, and nobody says nothing.
How many people are there?
I don't know. And I already taken some shots, trying to push him away, but.
Do you know your nearest cross streets or an address that you're at or anything like that?
No, sir. I got off the freeway, and anyways, I came uphill. I don't know what street I took or anything.
What's your name?
Caesar Martha, M-A-R-T-H-A.
You said your first name was Caesar?
Yes, sir.
Kind of in the mountains area now. Did you like run up there, or did you drive up there?
I drove up to where the little, where you start up the truck, and then I walked up, and I get behind the bush.
How long did it chasing you?
It's been a while. I don't know. It's been a while.
So it's been like
At approximately 5:10 p.m., the responding deputy arrived at the scene and located Martha's Honda Civic. At approximately 5:24 p.m., deputies in the area of the call for service heard gunshots and requested that the sheriff's helicopter respond to their location and assist with locating Martha. Martha continued to make calls to 911 dispatch in which he stated he had a gun and was unwilling to put the gun down.
Where's the weapon right now?
Next to me.
Okay. And you're holding it, or?
I'm holding it, yeah.
Okay.
And earlier, I was firing because they're getting close to me, and I don't know who they are. They don't want to say anything. I've been asking them.
So you're firing your gun earlier?
Yeah, I was me, yeah.
Because they were getting close to you?
Yeah. And I asked them, well, why aren't you guys shooting back, I mean, that's a pretty good reason. It goes both ways, right?
Okay.
And I was doing that because they're self-defense, really. They're getting close to me. I don't know who they are. They're chasing me. They're a whole bunch of people. And that's what I was doing, getting them off my back. And they keep on trying to get closer every time.
I understand that you have the firearm because you were trying to protect yourself, but right now it's officer safety and the public around you is where the issue comes in. So is it possible for you to lay the gun down so that you can speak with someone?
Well, yeah, I had to lay down right here.
Okay. Well, can you lay it down, and that way if you lay the gun down and step away from it, then they can speak to you.
No.
Well,
no.
so you're not ready?
I'm asking you to let me know why.
I want to let you know why, but Caesar, how can I know why if I haven't even gotten enough information from you to even know?
Put my hand in and step away from there. Okay. Yeah, lady.
Where's the weapon right now?
Next to me.
Okay. And you're holding it, or?
I'm holding it. Yeah.
Okay.
And earlier, I was firing because they're getting close to me, and I don't know who they are. They don't want to say anything. I've been asking them.
So you're firing your gun earlier?
Yeah, I was me, yeah.
Because they were...
Caesar, this is Deputy Sheriff's Department, man. My name is... With the Sheriff's... Yes. And I'm here to help you. Can you hear me?
You asked me to step out unarmed.
Correct.
I already took some shots at whoever the fuck was following me.
What do you mean you took some shots?
Yeah, I took some shots there.
Shots of liquor?
Come on.
I don't know what kind of shots. I'm asking what kind of shots. I don't. Can you please be specific for me? Shots of what? Yes, I am, man. That's what I'm calling you. What can we do? Who's after you? Who's after you?
The negotiator's second contact with Martha.
Caesar! Hey! Hey, man, I'm trying to help you. Can you hear me? Hey,
How is it that you're trying to help me, brother?
I want you to come down to the... Can you come down to your car?
Why these people are chasing me?
Hey, but we have the area surrounded right now just to make sure nobody's chasing you. But we want you to come down to us. Can you do that? We're here to make sure nobody's here to hurt you. We're here for that reason. Can you come back down to your car? Okay, what do you want us to do? How can we help you? Can you tell me? Listen, I'm here and I don't see no one else. I'm trying to help you out. You're gonna come down? Caesar, this is Deputy Sheriff's Department, man. My name is... With the Sheriff's... Yes. And I'm here to help you. Can you hear me?
You asked me to step out unarmed.
Correct.
I already took some shots at whoever the fuck was following me.
What do you mean you took some shots?
Yeah, I took some shots there.
Shots of liquor?
Martha did not come down, and over the next several hours, negotiators continually attempted to contact Martha via cell phone, but Martha would not answer. The sheriff's helicopter flight crew continued to make PA announcements, asking Martha to put the gun down, but Martha refused to comply. Members of SED arrived and staged at the bottom of a dirt road to prevent Martha from going into the residential area while still armed. After dark, for an unknown reason, Martha ran down the dirt road toward SED deputies and pointed his handgun at them. After the exchange, Martha fell to the ground.
My 215, 111, vehicle 17. My ID is GG645.
And he's now running. He's at the T intersection, now heading southbound on the roadway. Heading to the ARV.
37 15, the office with for chemist 17, 84152, I 41.
Alright, still moving southbound. He's coming around the bend, guys. Guys, the ARV standby. Alright. Alright, Steve should be able to see the
106 north. Running towards unit.
Alright, he's pointing his weapon. Okay, shots fired. Shots fired. Subject was pointing his weapon.
106 north. 75 106. I just take 22 road runners on G. You put them back on top.
Suspect's down.
Panorama to their vehicles. Suspect down. 106 copy 1022 road runner. Has their vehicle. And 61 Lincoln, I copy. Just have meds get ready. As soon as they can, they'll approach.
The following is video of the incident recorded by a home surveillance camera located nearby. During processing of the scene, homicide investigators located a black handgun with a high-capacity magazine drum near Martha's right hand. A fired cartridge casing was also located near Martha's handgun.
There's your evidence, folks. Let's go to Jason. Let's get your general take on this. What's going on? A lot going on in this one, isn't there, Jason?
Yeah, this is a tough scene. There's basically I just prefer to turn over the jury. They can ask me some questions so I don't spoil things, in my opinion.
Very well. Jury, this is the examination phase where you guys are opened up to ask myself questions, Jason's questions, or watch more sections of the video.
What questions do we have here, folks?
I would
folks,
like to
if you don't have questions, we can go right into deliberation phase. It's just up to you.
Somebody had a question.
I would like to see the IR video close to the end, if that's possible.
Let's go to it. You want to see where he's walking down the road just prior to shots fired, maybe?
Absolutely.
Does that satisfy your view that you're looking for, Davey?
Absolutely. I saw what I needed to.
Any other portions of the video that we'd like to see? Okay, I'm going to take the silences. We're ready to go to deliberations. Is that correct, folks?
That's what it seems like, Joe.
Well, let's make that happen. Once again, the rules are justifiable homicide. An officer's use of deadly force is justified if a reasonable person would believe it was necessary to protect themselves or others from imminent death or serious bodily harm. Stop a fleeing suspect who poses a clear imminent danger to others. Officer's perspective is important. Consider the facts known to the officers at the time, split-second decisions, threat level, and circumstances. Review the evidence, the video that we've seen, and any testimony that really wasn't given in this, but you've got the video. Vote. If a majority vote finds no probable cause for or of a crime due to justification, issue a no bill to close the case. Otherwise, true bill indicts. Time has started, folks.
Okay, rough impressions. Again, I'm going to start with Laura. Ladies first. What do you think of this situation?
Well, he wasn't putting the gun down. I have no clue what his mental state was. He lied or appeared to have lied in the 911 calls. He said his phone was dead, but he was on the phone. I don't understand with the shirt off. He said he was homeless, but then he went home to get his gun. He was adamant not to put the gun down. He said he shot at people trying to ask, but no one's around. And how is somebody going to answer why they're being shot at? He's a danger.
I was wondering if anybody else had picked up on I'm homeless, I went home, and I took video, but my phone's dead, but he's still talking on the phone. Both of those make me really suspicious about what his ultimate motive was.
If this is a point for you guys, do you want to go back and listen to that portion of the call?
Yeah, I would like to.
That sounds like a request.
Yeah, you guys continue. Give me a second to find it. I'll bring it up in a second.
Okay, so Laura and I both glommed onto both those 2 points. Cody, what's your impression of what we just witnessed? Cody hasn't figured out the unmute yet.
Sorry, I'm normally unmuted by default because I have a mute button on my headset, so I'm used to using that. But it's pretty clear cut from what I can see. If you raise a weapon, then you obviously pose a threat. Now, given the time that officers and negotiators spent with him, given the terrain, given the different circumstances, this could have ended differently. With the information that we had. So it's kind of a toss-up for me, if I'm not going to lie.
Okay, Joe, have we got that part of the audio yet?
I'm going for it. Just continue. We'll get there.
Okay, let us know when you're there. King Davey and then Doc, what are your impressions of what we just saw?
For me, the sheriffs had a tremendous amount of time from initial contact to finality. I'm actually surprised that they didn't get a specialist to negotiate, whether on a phone call or not. I'm a little surprised by that. But again, when it comes to the bill or no bill statement, you have to take into the final action. This was a chosen course of action, despite whatever state that person was in. They still made some really bad decisions leading up to that finality. So for me, it's really obvious. Could there be things taken into account outside of that? I would say absolutely. But you can only do what you can do, especially toward the end.
Okay, now to what you just said, there was a point in in the video where it was said after hours of negotiation. So I don't know if the deputy who began the negotiation was the only negotiator, or if they brought in another negotiator. I don't know from that, but it was after hour. It did say after hours of negotiation, it got dark. I mean, it was daylight when they started, and then it was dark. So we know a number of hours passed.
And that's my question.
He stopped
and
answering
I
his
guess
phone, right?
Oh, go ahead, Cody. Hang on, King.
so. I guess this question would be for Jason as well. Is after hours of negotiation, would there not have been an alternative solution to this? Like in police procedures, would there not have been an alternative to, basically posting officers up and then, given his mental state and everything else, whenever he comes by, he points a gun at them and then, obviously they shoot. Like, is there not a different alternative to that? Would there not have been, like a tear gas situation or anything like that? Or a non-lethal situation, I should say.
I think we're in deliberation. Are we not? Or still a question?
Yeah, they can ask questions. As a grand jury, they can ask you questions. So they've got a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this moment, when you have the totality of the circumstances here, after you listen to 911 calls and everything else coming out, and he's refusing, like, no, I'm not giving up my gun. And then he still approaches himself coming down. You have deadly force walking down that hill. And it doesn't matter if the gun is pointed at a cop or not. Is this person a threat to public safety? Is this person a threat to the officers? He has a weapon in his hand. The use of force continuum is not less lethal at this point. If he would have dropped his gun and came down with his hands up, okay, now we might have a less lethal thing, but he decided not to do that.
I was going to add that he was also close enough that someone's home, because he's in the mountain doesn't mean there's not homes. He was on someone's home video. So he's close enough to an innocent bystander and a dog. You could hear the dog in the background. I don't know how many other homes are around. And I agree with some people adding that, they have special teams to come in. I think there's one that's called the Bearcat or Claw. But at this point, this guy was a danger, and there was an extreme amount of negotiations and many people trying to talk him down. But it seemed to me he was one-sided. He was focused on keeping that weapon.
Well, and that's a good point, Laura. We need to keep in mind he was close enough to other residents, other people who were not involved, who were innocents, where a Ring camera picked up what happened. That's pretty close. So,
okay, guys, I have the video up. You want to hear this audio on the phone situation?
Yes, sir. Please do.
Let's go for it.
The guys that were following you?
No, I don't see them.
Were they following you in a car, or were they on foot?
No, on the car.
They were in a car too?
Several cars, yeah. I haven't. I recorded some of the license plates. I have on my phone. My phone is here, but it's dead.
So you parked your car on the street and then you walked up the trail?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I hit, and it's just here.
Is there anybody there with you, or were you by yourself?
I'm by myself.
Okay. What color shirt or jacket are you wearing?
I'm not wearing a shirt right now.
Okay. So you.
Several cars, yeah. I haven't. I recorded some of the license plates.
That refresh your memory or answer your questions on the phone call, and having a phone.
It does mine. I recorded it on my phone. I've got it here with me, but it's dead. But he's talking to them on the phone.
Okay.
It doesn't jive.
Yeah, I think that answers it for me too.
I mean, he could easily have two phones, but at that moment, that's all they know.
Yeah, just real quick. I think we're getting kind of off in the weeds here. He said he was being chased by people. He didn't know how many. He never saw them. I'd be real surprised if there wasn't meth involved. This sounds like a paranoid incident. During the call, he was saying that he didn't trust the deputies to come talk to him. That's why he didn't want to put his gun down. So he was half convinced the deputies were his enemy. So that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Well, I wasn't going to go quite that direction, Doc, but you're right. The point we've got is he made statements that were inconclusive, and then things did that. Okay. Are there any other questions that people have or debate that we need to have on this before we start taking a vote?
No.
No questions, but Doc, that was my first sentence, was his mental state.
I agree with you, Laura and Doc. Lauren, what's your verdict on, what's your thoughts on this? Was he
It's a no, Bill.
okay? Cody?
Yeah, I'm going to go no bill as well, given the information that we have.
King Davey?
No, Bill.
Doc?
Yeah, no, Bill. He clearly presented his weapon as he was running toward the deputies.
And I'm also going to be a no bill. So, Joe, we have a verdict. No bill.
No bill, no formal charges. Tell you what, let me throw this back up there. Let's talk for a few more minutes on this. You guys talked about a lot of things. The phone call, whether it made sense whether they had a phone or not. Why was the phone so important to you guys?
I don't know about the others, but for me, it was the lack of consistency in his story. It seemed like he was trying to lay down an alibi or something that was outside of his control, and the only proof he had was his phone, but it was dead, yet he's talking on the cell phone. So there was an inconsistency with that, a very serious inconsistency. The second one was,
well,
I'm homeless.
I get where you guys are finding holes in the story. I guess what my question is, how did that come down to the fact of, because remember, justifiable homicide is if the officer believes that his life or another person's life is in danger or imminent danger to serious bodily harm. That's when you can use deadly force, not
Yes, sir.
an investigative tool. So
No, and it's not.
I guess I'm curious, why did that stick in your minds as to so much as to the few seconds that were important there?
For me, and I can't speak for anybody else, I'm just going to speak for me. The inconsistency in his story, it seemed like he was trying to get people close to him. He's not being a real player in this scenario. He's trying to game something, and to me, that raises his threat level.
I honestly don't think he was that coherent. I don't think he knew which end was up.
Jason, you've been quiet.
It was his credibility, and that they didn't know what his actions were, and it could have been a setup for suicide by cop, or to try to harm officers. So it sounded to me they did their best, but everything he was saying, his credibility kept going. And then you're right, it comes down to his threat at that moment. Adding the totality of all of your video and the evidence, to me, it became justifiable.
Fair enough. I was just curious. The phone seemed to be a sticking order there, and I guess I looked at more of the fact when he came down the hill, when he pointed the gun at the officers. I mean, that's when they shot. I think it's pretty clear cut there. It's kind of a bad situation. Even if he did, it could have been his intention to come down and be suicided by cops. I mean, there are people that do that, but they're in control of that, in my opinion, not the police officers. Now, the other thing you guys talked about is that could they have brought in a professional a negotiator? Why was that important? And my other question is, what makes you think this deputy that was doing that wasn't trained in negotiations?
So my thinking on that was that they were, because on the call they said they had, been in negotiations. So that was my thinking on, was there an alternative method to, to not using lethal force since they had already been in negotiations, whether the office, whether it had been the officers that were on site or, a negotiator that came in, like they had been in some sort of negotiation. So why was it escalated to lethal force? Was my initial questions on that.
Let me go back to the instructions for the grand jury. Where does it say that they have to exhaust all other alternatives prior to using it? What is the justification for using deadly force? If they perceive or a reasonable person would believe that they were protecting themselves or others from imminent death or serious bodily injury, and I think when the gun comes up, then that's satisfied.
Correct. No? Yeah, and that's what led me to the decision that I came up with.
And I'm not beating you up. I was just curious. I listen to the deliberations and sometimes how panels will get stuck on things that they're interesting. And if you were an investigator, you'd really want to be digging into it. But I just don't know that it was super important for the grand jury. Jason, you back with us? You want to make a comment on this before we move to our next and final case?
Sure, real quick. As far as a criminal conviction, absolutely 100%. Cops are justified. You guys are talking about police procedure, and I will agree, listening to the negotiator without hearing the entire conversation, that person did not do a good job. How can I help you shit needs to drop. In my opinion, this guy was either methed up or whatever, or he's schizophrenic. The fact that he's talking about people are chasing me, that leads me to mental health or drug use or a combination of the two. And a negotiator may or may not be able to work through that. The fact he came down with a gun, he had every opportunity for hours to actually live. My conclusion from police side is this is a suicide by cop. The officers, in my opinion, were more than justified because you just can't walk away from this guy. He's got a gun. There's neighbors around. This is a public safety concern. It needs to end somehow. And they tried their best. The best didn't work, and they used what force was necessary to keep the public safe. My 2 cents.
No, I think we're all in agreement that's the way the jury box ruled as well. Sometimes these, when you look at them, they don't feel good, but doesn't make them necessarily unlawful. I've heard the term awful, but lawful. And I think sometimes it goes that way. Folks, let's get to our last case tonight. This is going to be out of Point Orange, Florida.
Come to the door. Central, I got contact with him in the front door. Hey, drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Are you okay? Are you okay? Hey, sir. Go get the meds. Go get medical. Go get medical. Sir. Stay with me, man. Stay with me. Stay with me.
Where's the knife?
It's over there. It's over there. I fired 3 shots. Come to the door. Central, I got contact with him in the front door. Hey, drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Shots fired, Central. Come to the door. Central, I got contact with him in the front door. Hey, drop the knife!
Okay, it was a 911 call for a suicide of male. When the officers arrived, you saw what happened at initial contact. He comes outside with a knife and is encountered with the police officer's deadly force, and he dies. Neighbors reported that he was a longtime resident of this neighborhood, had been struggling with since his mother's death like 3 weeks prior. And they also suggested it was probably a suicide by cop scenario. And his identity has been withheld even up to this day, which I'm okay with that. But I couldn't get you a name of the person that was actually shot on this one. So there's your video evidence. And there's my bumper exit on my video there. I like it. It's kind of loud. Maybe I'll adjust some sound on it. But what do you guys think? Any part of the video that you want to see again? I put a timer in the middle of that. If you want to go back and try to gauge how many seconds this officer had to make these decisions, we can do that. But actually, before we do that, Jason, any comments on this one that you'd like to tell the jury?
21-foot rule. Basically, if an edged weapon is within 21 foot of the officer, deadly force is justified.
Jason, do you think this was an example of it? I mean, this guy, he's not a track star coming out that door, but he's coming out pretty fast. He's closing. The officer is running away as fast as he's running at him.
I'm just telling the jury that the 21-foot rule, and they were well within that.
NC has a question about what's up with the gloves prior putting on the latex gloves when he knocked on the door. Jason, you want to address that one?
Anytime there's a high-risk thing, in this one you have a guy who's suicidal, officers will put gloves on before they walk into it. That's normal to protect themselves. They have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you don't know what kind of bodily fluids you could encounter, especially on a suicide call. Isn't that right, Jason? We can talk about that in the after party if you want. I know it's a tough subject for you, but I like talking about it. All right, jury members, this is your chance to go back on the video, examine or cross-examine Jason or even myself on this one, but it's up to you. Go.
Okay, folks, what questions do you have on this one?
This one's pretty clear cut for me as well.
Okay, well, let's go into deliberations. There's your clock. Time starts now. Same rules hold. Same standard for a conviction. Justifiable homicide rules. An officer's use of deadly force is justified if a reasonable person would believe it was necessary to protect themselves or others from imminent death or serious bodily injury or harm, stop a fleeing suspect who poses a clear imminent danger to others. Officer's perspective is important. Consider the facts known to the officer at the time, split second decisions, threat levels, and circumstances. Review the evidence, look at eyewitness statements, and the body cam footage is pretty much what you have on this one. And see if the officers acted lawfully. If a majority finds no probable cause for a crime due to justification, issue a no bill to close the case. Otherwise, a true bill indicts. Any questions on that? Okay.
I hear no questions.
Clock's a ticking. Let's go.
Okay, so deliberation time. Is there anyone here who does not understand what Jason said about the 21-foot rule? I take that to mean no.
Well, no, I have a question. I have a question
Okay.
for Jason, if available. Is that if a suspect is known to be suicidal, is there any other procedure that is taken into account when, whatever going on a call?
You guys are in deliberation. I can't answer that now.
Excuse me?
You guys are deliberating. Do you want me to answer?
Well, let me hear the question again. Make sure I understand it. Go ask the question again, Cody.
I said, given the fact that the suspect was known to be suicidal, is there any other procedures that is taken on the officer's end that are taken into account, given that the suspect
Is this another
suicidal
because the officer's done something different scenario that you're asking? Jason, you can answer that.
So it's basically like, would they have done something differently given the fact that they know that the suspect is suicidal or not?
They did know. It was the 911 call was it's a call, suicidal subject.
Right. So is there any other procedure that is taken given those circumstances?
Well, the trend a couple of years ago, it was to send in social workers, and I think that's falling to the wayside. But no, if somebody's suicidal, officers are going to come, they're going to try to help them out, and they're confronted with a situation that they have to deal with. So I don't know how else to respond to that.
No, that was a good response to it. I mean, I just wanted to know, like, if there was any other training or any of the procedures that the officers took on their end, you know.
The suspect gave them no chance to even talk.
Correct, yeah. So given the information, that's what I was curious about. Like, if you get a call and, you know, look, like, let's just say, for instance, you know that this suspect is trying to do suicide by cop, is there any of the procedures that the officers take on their end, or is it pretty cut and dry?
Officers don't know that suicide by cop is coming. If they knew that, then that would be more of a barricaded suspect thing. But in this case, I don't think they knew or could predict what his mindset was. So I don't think they had a choice. They responded to a call, and they responded to the actions that were presented to them.
Did these officers carry non-lethals? Did they carry the stun gun?
Not a fan of stun guns, but they 100% they probably do.
Okay.
Jason, do you want to go over the force continuum again for the grand jury? Make sure they understand that.
Sure. So police officers are allowed to go one step higher than the threat that's coming at them. So a clenched fist means less lethal. A clenched fist means taser, pepper spray, or an asp. A knife, one step higher, is a gun. So if somebody comes at you with a clenched fist, you're not justified to shoot them. You're justified to use less lethal to contain them, to effect an arrest. If it bumps up, you're required to go. So the point is, if he comes out with a knife, the use of force continuum just jumped from presence to verbal commands to deadly force.
And that was the reason for my initial question. Does everybody understand what Jason said about the 21-foot rule? Because a knife within 21 feet, they can approach you and stab you before you can draw your weapon and shoot them.
And folks, I'll bring the video back up. 11 seconds from the first shot to the time he knocked on the door or stood back from the door putting his gloves on. Before the door opened, 11 seconds is what this officer had to do all this evaluating. Any questions, or are we ready for a verdict? Sounds like we're quiet. No questions, no deliberations. Let's take a vote.
Okay, Laura, what's your vote?
No, Bill. He didn't have any time, and it wasn't suicide by cop. The guy was known to be suicidal, so it was like a cry wolf. You don't have time to switch weapons. I mean, that was it. That officer saved his life, himself, and anybody around him. In my opinion, if that knife even got near him, he could have lost his weapon. Others would be in danger, etc. No, Bill.
Okay, no bill for Lauren. Laura, Cody.
Yeah, I'm going to go no bill as well.
Okay, King Davey.
100% no bill. 19 feet in 1 second is all it takes to cover that ground.
All right, sir. Doc, what's your verdict? What's your vote?
Clean no bill. This was obvious suicide by cop.
I am also going to be a no bill. So, Joe, we have a verdict of no bill.
And there we have it. That is our last case. We're no bill straight across the board tonight. I'm a little surprised that a couple of these I thought would go different than they did. But I think good deliberations.
Let me ask you, Joe, which ones did you, in your mind, did you think, might have been up more for debate?
I really thought the San Bernardino, the gentleman that was the long 911 call. In fact, you guys got close to it. It seems like a lot of people Even with instructions that are given, and the instructions I'm giving you are very similar to what you would get on a grand jury. I mean, you're not. This is what you're going to consider. You're not going to sit down as if you're super police and say, "Well, you should have done something different." But it seems like there are people that always go to the side as the officer should do something to prevent someone from doing harm to themselves, as in attacking the police and getting shot. Like, well, he doesn't really mean to hurt us, but he's slinging a knife. I mean, he really could hurt us. But I thought the San Bernardino one would get us into the weeds, and I thought the guy in the wheelchair would get us in the weeds, and we got close to it, but you guys didn't fall off the cliff, in my opinion. But the method or the ideology I'm speaking of is when we get into the mode of police officers are required to do something to save you from yourself when there's a threat to their lives. Because the only time you can say it's okay for them to use deadly force is when there's a threat to their lives. And let's take the third person out of it. When there's a threat to their life, a threat to your life, you have the right to use deadly force to defend it. There's some accolades to that in the law, whereas after the fact, I turn out it's a BB gun. Well, that doesn't matter. It looked well enough like a gun a reasonable person would have believed his guns, therefore the threat was real to them. But we get sideways on that. We don't seem to. Some juries don't seem to stick on it. We get sideways on officers should do more to protect people who are doing reckless and dangerous things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And for the people that aren't there and go into that situation, it can be more up for debate, I guess. But when you're in a situation like that where it's seconds can mean life or death, it could have a different outcome.
Check it out. Rude, who's watching, in one of his comments on X is, and I think he's talking about the guy in the wheelchair. I just couldn't see him raise his weapon, but I would ask, does it matter that he raised his weapon? Does he have to raise his weapon before he reaches the level of the use of deadly force?
Yeah, Joe, I was going to say the same. It does not matter. You don't need the moment. If you have a gun sitting in your lap, the amount of time it takes you to go from your lap to pointing is literally less than a second. It's boom. You cannot respond fast enough to protect yourself in that moment. Imminent threat is somebody with a gun in their hand. That is a threat. And they can go from hands in the air to hands at the hip to hands in their lap to pointing at you like that. And there's case law, Rod, and you can look it up, action versus reaction. And it's been proven over and over again that the time it takes an officer to respond to the imminent threat when it's pointed at your face, you're dead. So it doesn't need to be pointed at you.
I would go back to this knife video, and if you broke it down from the time he realized the guy's coming out the door till he cleared leather with his pistol, because he wasn't standing there with his pistol out. He pulled it out as he's going backwards. I think you're probably good 2-3 seconds before he gets his gun out of his holster on the knife guy.
Yeah, correct. I agree.
Here's what actually says. The gun in his lap, according to the evidence, I understand where you're coming from, but fully, I just don't see him going from gun in hands to gun in hands. I'm not sure I'm sure what he's talking about. And you got to remember too, the call was he was pointing this gun, BB gun, we know now, but what people believe to be a gun, he was pointing it. And I think that I would challenge you, Rude, to find me any case where the action or the reaction was anytime faster than the action. And I think that's where it rolls down to that. I think a reasonable person would believe if I've got a gun in my lap and I've been pointing at other people and I've got it in my lap, that is a threat, even though it's laying in my lap, because within seconds it can be, it's in his hand, but in his lap, by the way. It could be up and pointed and shot in a matter of seconds, I think is the point there, that a reasonable person doesn't have to wait and see if the threat is real. You don't have to get shot to know that somebody means to shoot you. Or to respond to someone who you believe means to shoot you is probably more accurate.
Yeah, that's not reasonable. You can't wait for somebody to shoot you before you shoot back.
That's correct. Yeah, but also, the lateral is also true. So that's why we get into these situations where, it is helpful to have a jury of your peers to observe these things, because, if a gun is in your lap, just like with what Jason was saying, You know, it only takes a split second for things to change, but you know, also the lateral is that, you know, you don't know that person's intention as well. So, you know, if you're a lawful gun owner and you have a gun holstered yourself, you know, the same could be true whether if it's in your lap or in a holster on your side. You know, what's the difference?
Well, I think the difference we ignore is that the officer didn't just walk up and shoot the guy in the wheelchair. Let me see your hands. Put the gun down. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. He hadn't even charged his weapon to the point just to prior to him shooting. So you have to go to the fact too that the person that holds a lot of responsibility is taking those bullets to his chest is the guy in the wheelchair. All he had to do was show him his hands. The officers are responding to a righteous call. They have every authority to be there. And I think most citizens in that jurisdiction would say they had a duty to be there and to do something about this.
Joe,
yeah, I don't see it that way.
Joe, can you explain what charge his weapon means for the audience if they don't know?
It's an AR platform or an M16 style platform. You have a charging handle at the rear. That means that he was going there with no bullet in the chamber. He pulls the charging handle back to load one from the magazine into the chamber to go hot on the rifle. So if you go back and watch the video on replay, you'll see where he reaches up with his left hand and pulls the charging handle back to him and snaps it back. Prior to that, his gun was not ready to shoot.
Real quick comment, and this is to the jury and Joe and Bruce. Every one of these scenarios we watched tonight, if the person who was the quote-unquote suspect or the person of interest, if they would have complied, is anybody dead?
No.
And that's kind of my point, is they had every opportunity, every single one of these videos. The guy runs out with a knife. That's on him. You chose to do that. The guy in the woods, you could have dropped your gun, walked down with your hands up. The guy in the wheelchair, drop the knife. Okay, take the gun, drop it on the floor. Every scenario you watched tonight, the cops reacted to the actions of the person that was the person of interest because they didn't comply. And every single one of them would have been alive today if they just would have listened. Cops don't want to kill people. And it just, that's kind of my point.
No, and it's good.
Thank you for that, Jason.
But I'll tell you too that even these was well, that's so clear cut. Even when they're clear cut, a jury still deliberates on these. A grand jury still deliberates on these. A grand jury still looks at it, and I like it. They look at it from all over. They make a decision that they can live with one, but I think juries get it right most of the time. Even if there's some of these shoots you didn't like tonight, you still build them because the essence and the elements of it just met the case for it being justifiable. And Rude says he's talking to NC. I'm not going to engage with that argument with you, sir. They're having a little tit-tat back and forth in the chat over that. But good deal.
You do truly have to put yourself in, in their shoes, so to speak. Which, yes, the argument can be made that had they complied, they wouldn't have been in that situation. But, given the country that we live in and given the rights that we have as citizens, that's why we have situations like these where you have grand juries and you have a jury of your peers to deliberate on cases like these, because we do have so many rights as citizens, and that's one thing that people need to take into account for as well.
That's 100%. And for those that don't know, I don't know of another country that uses the grand jury system. It's literally a filter to keep the boot off of the citizen's neck. It takes other citizens to say, yeah, there's enough evidence this guy or this girl may have done that. So let's get the government's boot on the neck and go through a trial. So it's something unique that we have here that we don't have. Other citizens, other people in other countries don't have it as a protection from their government for criminal charges.
But grand jury doesn't give the right for the defense, so grand jury makes the decision only on what the prosecutor puts forth.
No, this is absolutely true. It is not a fair contest necessarily, but the probable cause or the level of proof inside there is very, very, very small. Probable cause is really not much, but grand juries, in my opinion, when it comes to cases like this, I think grand juries, when these are all ultimately sorted through, I think you'll see that your civilian real grand jury counterparts would decide just like you did here today. I think juries get it right most of the time, although it is true that a ham sandwich can be indicted. But that's the way the process. Even a grand jury, for those you don't know, I gave it in the description. But a grand jury secret, who serves on it, what goes on in the deliberations, the content of it is also secret. But we have to go in. That we're the measure on that. When you're selected for grand jury, go in and do your duty.
Just real quick, I'm not sure anybody else picked up on it, but the gentleman in the wheelchair was moving away from two of the units, but he was moving toward the other one, and all the bystanders piled up behind it. So I think that was a factor that needed to be considered over and above whether or not he actually presented a weapon at officers. He'd already pointed it at people before. You don't know what his intentions are. You got to kind of react in the moment.
Yeah, 100%. Just have a few seconds. Folks, that is our show tonight. Warm and special thank you to our volunteer panel. If you want to be on this panel next week, join our community group on X or shoot me a DM, get in contact with me or my co-host in any form or fashion. We'll get you set up. We have a brand new, fresh set of eyes each week to check out other police use of force videos. Anyone who's interested, we'll keep this discussion up in an X after space. Give us about 20, 25 minutes to get that kicked up. If you want to personal DM to that, shoot me a message, shoot my co-host or Jason, anybody on the panel, shoot them a message or give them a follow, and we'll meet you there. Thank you, everyone. Jason, B. Wayne, appreciate you.
Did you ever get any money from Costello?
No.
And did you ever get any money from Meyer Lansky?
I never got money from any of those fellas.
None of those
fellas. None of these that I've been reading about, or none that I knew. They never gave me anything.
None of the Fichettis?
No. I don't even speak to the. I mean, I met that Charlie once or twice. I don't even talk to him.
You don't like him?
I was conscious of the fact that he had a reputation for being an outstanding bookmaker.
You ever hear him referred to as the Prime Minister of the Underworld?
That term I did not.
Also known as Duck Corella. I refuse to answer on the grounds of negligent. You got any business? I refuse to answer on the grounds of attempt to criminal. You have any profession? I refuse to answer on the grounds of negligent. You have any occupation? I refuse to answer on the grounds of negligent. Are you a known racketeer?